I think your observation is correct that for a lot of startups, they may not have a formal S&O function. And instead, it might be embedded in some generalist role. So like a few people really owning the business side. And they might be doing both the sales, being an account manager and client partner, and also doing the strategy, the S&O side things. So in a way, you're kind of being a general manager for the business already in that type of role, right? There are also companies that will have the S&O role that would cover both commercial, business, product, all things for the company. And that might be more like a chief of staff role. Again, depending on the company, the team, the flavor of the role can be very different. First part of the question is the difference between Facebook role and the Reddit role. I can talk about a few differences in my days, but I've also left Facebook like 4 years ago. I was at Reddit the last 4. So I may not have the latest information because those organizations change constantly. But I will say for both companies, the role was quite similar. The difference for me personally was at Meta, I joined when the business size was much smaller, and it grew into a giant business. Throughout my 8 years there, our team exploded in size and multiplied into many functions. But the core of the role was exactly I was sharing with you guys earlier in my presentation. And at Reddit, it was very similar, but the finance function was also much more leaned in on some of the tasks that we were doing fully owned by S&O folks at Meta. But here at Reddit, there were more collaborations between finance and the S&O. So more negotiation, more influencing in some ways. But also, I was taken back in many, many years, meaning that the systems, the data, everything was a lot earlier stage at Reddit. When I joined it, this was before IPO, right? So there were a lot of foundational work, a lot of opportunities to make an impact, one may say, right, to influence in the business, to make it into a $1 billion business, which it is today. So I'm super proud of that. So like I said, even though the name is the same, the structure is similar, but the actual impact was different, and the way you were approaching them was different given the different stage of the business. And then to the second part of your question, whether it's better to join startups early stage or later stage, I think this really depends on the individual. It depends on the experience you are looking for, right? If you are hoping to be a more generalist, jack of all trades, if you don't mind the scrappy culture, if you don't mind doing a lot of things outside of your scope, being pulled into many, many different directions, I think startup is great. Like it's one of the fastest way to learn about the business probably, because if you chose to, you can talk to anyone in the company and then learn about what they do, learn about their function, lend a hand, right? So that can be an excellent choice for certain people. But for folks who might be looking for more structure, right? Or looking for experience in a more scalable way, the large corporations could be a valuable place to have an experience as well. You may see a lot of problems that the smaller companies were not solving, but they need to be solved at the larger company. One solution might be working at a smaller size company, but it doesn't scale at a larger company, right? So both experiences are super, super valuable in my opinion, and it comes down to what you are looking for. And also, quite honestly, realistically, what job you can get in today's market. A lot of the big companies today like to look for folks who has already done those type of work before. So hence I often tell people that to try all those possibilities as well if you are open to them. This is a hard one because honestly, the name can change. The BizOps, the sales ops, revenue strategy ops, go-to-market strategy ops. Companies can name their teams differently, and they can be essentially the same thing, or they are called the same thing, but they are doing all different flavors of the job, like I said before. So this is a hard one to answer, not knowing the company, not knowing the team specifically. But at a high level, I can say, a lot of teams or leaders would name them their team as BizOps to give a broader scope. So that might mean that the role is not only focused on the commercial or the sales side of things. It might be covering the broader sets of strategy and operations for the company that may include, marketing, may include doing some planning for the product engineering side of the house. Or sometimes the BizOps team, like when I was at Reddit for a period of time, the BizOps team was separate from revenue strategy ops team that focused more on dashboard building, the pricing yield work, or building out the systems. So it really varies by the company. So the best thing to do is when you're looking for a potential role at a certain company, read through their job descriptions. That gives you a lot of insights. And also, if you do have the opportunity to network, ask people, the insiders, what those teams really do. And the last but not least is really use those interview opportunities to ask questions. Remember, not only the companies are interviewing you, you are also interviewing them in those conversations. So make sure you ask the questions to help yourself get the clarity you need about the role, the team, the company, what they really do, to make sure those are the things that you will feel excited to join.